Tell you, what you're about to see is really impressive here, and people say, well, how will this tunnel perform in an emergency? Let's talk about one thing. Let's talk about power. What if the power goes out? Well, there's two feeds that come in here from the grid. There's also major generators, and WSDOT is promising that this tunnel will always be operational. Now, here's what they would do in an emergency. Where there's an accident, there can be smoke, but let me be clear. This is not a real accident. This is a drill, a major drill inside the new tunnel involving multiple cars and buses and people. It is a test of a response to a tunnel emergency.
Several injuries, and I don't know how severe they are.
But the smoke doesn't hang around for long. This tunnel is sophisticated with automatic systems that can suck that smoke out through a series of vents along the tunnel walls, driven by fans just outside. And like the smoke removal, sensors in the tunnel can also detect fire. These lights simulate a fire on one of the cars. Fire will automatically trigger sprinklers in the ceiling, releasing a deluge of water to put out or at least control a fire until the fire department can arrive. But let's flash back to before the scenario plays out. This is the TMC, the Traffic Management Center, miles to the north in Shoreline. They monitor and operate the tunnel here 24/7. Cameras can swing directly to a fire, and those same cameras can then help tunnel operators guide firefighters. Seattle Fire says it will first send firefighters in on foot through the tunnel's exits, and then, once traffic leaving the tunnel has cleared, help guide fire engines which could have to drive into the tunnel in the opposite direction, fearing they could be trapped in a traffic backup that's trying to head into the tunnel. In this scenario, damaged cars were dragged in from junkyards. Seattle police provided buses, and DOT employees served as victims. For those of us who could find ourselves in a real emergency, there are lots of signs, lights, call boxes, and even a safe space on the other side of doors. Now, the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, has an oversight role in all of this. They work with local responders in what's called the I-STEP program. This is in the 40s. They've done the number of these, about 44 of these projects. We don't know the results of this yet. So basically the TSA will release a detailed, or will give out a detailed report on this in about 6 weeks. But other agencies like police and fire may do their own reports that could be out even sooner. Live by the north portal of the new Seattle Tunnel, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.